Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to call the Town of Morristown Board of Liquor and Tobacco Control meeting to order. It is 5:30, Monday, March 16th, 2026. Do we have any agenda changes or additions? So we have minutes from March 4th, 2026. I would entertain a motion.
I'll move to approve the minutes of March 4th, 2026.
Do I have a second?
I'm on the wrong.
Second. So I got a motion by Richard, a second by George. Any discussion regarding the minutes? Okay, all those in favor of the minutes as presented, please say aye.
Aye.
Roll call.
So we'll do a roll call. Thank you very much. Did I just say that a few minutes ago too?
Yes.
Rose,
Listening.
are you in favor?
Yeah, I am.
George?
Aye.
Richard?
Aye.
Leah?
Aye.
That would be unanimous. Thank you, folks. Liquor license applications. So we have 4 to approve. I would entertain a motion.
I'm going to do them all at once in one motion.
Sure. Go ahead.
I move to approve the liquor license applications for Copley Golf Corporation, 441 Country Club Road, first class, third class outside consumption. Vermont Harvest Catering LLC, doing business as Ryder Brook Golf Club, 3266 LaPorte Road for first class, third class and outside consumption. Vermont Pizza Boys, doing business as Hoagie's Pizza and Pasta, 64 Northgate Plaza for first class and third class. And Premium Properties Morrisville LLC, doing business as Morrisville Beverage at 81 Bridge Street for second class.
Thank you. I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
A motion by Richard and a second by Rose. Any discussion? Okay, all those in favor of the motion as presented, Rose?
Aye.
George?
Aye.
Richard?
Aye.
Leah?
Aye.
That would be unanimous. Thank you. Tobacco license applications. I believe we have 1.
I move to approve the tobacco license application for Premium Properties Morrisville LLC, doing business as Morrisville Beverage at 81 Bridge Street for tobacco and tobacco substitute endorsement.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I second.
So I have a motion by Richard, second by George.
Rose.
By Rose. It's gonna be one of those nights. Be patient, folks.
Why don't you switch the signs down?
Yeah. Okay, I'm sorry. Motion by Richard and a second by Rose. Any discussion? Okay, all those in favor of the motion as presented, please say aye. Rose?
Aye.
George?
Aye.
Richard?
Aye.
Leah?
Aye.
That would be unanimous. We have no special event permits?
No.
Okay, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
I move to adjourn Board of Liquor and Tobacco.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I second.
So a motion by Richard and a second by Rose. It is 5:34. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor of adjournment, please say aye. Rose?
Aye.
George?
Aye.
Richard?
Aye.
Leah?
Aye.
That would be unanimous. Thank you. Okay, I will wait for you, Judy. Okay, good evening once again. It is 5:35, Monday, March 16th, 2026. I'm going to call the Town of Morristown regular Select Board meeting to order. Do we have any agenda changes or additions?
No.
Community comments. I'll remind you at the last meeting, although we haven't approved the rules of procedure yet, as of yet, but we would ask you if you do have comments to please give us your name and your place of residence, your town of residence. Do we have any community comments? Okay, hearing none, I'm going to move on. So minutes, we have minutes from March 4th, 2026. I would entertain a motion.
I make a motion to approve the minutes of March 4th, 2026.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I second.
A motion by Richard and a second by Rose. Any discussion?
Yeah, under new business, I feel that it's important to note that the meeting was turned over to the vice chair for the election of the chair, and the same with when it was turned back over to the chair from the vice chair.
Yeah, good call. Thank you. Judy, you've got that? Okay, great. Okay, good. Okay, any other discussion? Okay, we have a motion to approve the minutes of March 4th, 2026. All those in favor, Rose?
Aye.
George? Aye. Richard?
Aye.
Aye.
Leah? That would be unanimous. We have minutes from the special select board meeting of March 9th, 2026.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of 3/9/2026.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I second.
Motion by Richard, second by Rose. Discussion. Okay, all those in favor of approving the minutes from March 9th, 2026. Rose?
Aye.
George? Aye. Richard?
Aye.
Leah?
Aye.
And I will abstain just because I was only there for half of it, so. That would be 401. Okay, new business. We have in our packets quite a bit of homework to read over the weekend. And I know Chief Luno's here. I know obviously Brent's here as well to talk about this, but we have the approval of architectural and engineering services for Morristown emergency response stations with Wyman Lanphier Architects. As the name would suggest, they are going to, if we approve this, provide us with architectural and engineering services for the potential building of a new police station, a new fire station, something that we've been talking about now for a couple of years. So again, there's a lot in our packet. Were you planning any kind of a presentation at this point, or just looking for questions from the board?
Yeah, if Chief Luno and Adele could come up to the microphone and provide a brief summary of the process that we undertook, the people that were involved, and then talk about how many proposals we received to our RFP and why we're recommending this one.
Yeah.
Just since we submitted this RFP, and we're looking for properties, we spoke with several of the people that submitted proposals to ask them. We have a garage feasibility study that was done on the village garage that we're leasing. And the feasibility study shows that it's possible to locate another building where our town garage is, but it would require moving Moyle County Solid Waste District to another location, and it would still be pretty tight. And we also have other issues there with well and some other things. So we would like to have whomever is selected also look at potential for a highway garage located on a site, and that will, from 2 or 3 of the people that we got proposals from that we interviewed, they said that it would be no cost or very little based upon the feasibility study. But we would also, and it's part of the proposed motion, we would like to include EMS. At the time that we sent out this proposal, we weren't sure whether or not there was limitations on use of the EMS building in the town to be able to potentially sell it or use it for other. So it took quite a while to research that, and there are no limitations. And we've had an assessment done on that property. And as you can imagine, it's pretty valuable because of its location. So we would like, in addition to what they're going to present, have the select board consider adding EMS to this evaluation and allowing me to negotiate any additional costs and just go ahead and approve that today. If you do have concerns, I understand, and we can bring that back to you, but I don't estimate that it's going to come in more than what my authority to sign off on is per our procurement policy.
Okay. Thank you. Yeah, when I spoke to you earlier today, Brent, I was wondering about EMS and why they weren't part of it, but nice to see that they're part of it as well. It'd be nice to have all three of our public safety entities under the same roof. That would certainly be great. Chief, would you like to start off?
Sure. So like Brent said, last fall, Brent actually reached out to RCAP Solutions, which is a consulting company out of Massachusetts, to the USDA. And we explained to them what we're looking to do, how we're looking to combine our emergency services in one building. And they helped us draft a RFP to go out to these architect firms and civil engineering firms that will allow them to come back with us with a conceptual drawing of the building. And it also will allow them to evaluate 4 different sites here in town and give their opinion on what site is the best site, most cost effective, so forth. So once the RFP went out in late November, early December, we ended up getting 9 responses back, firms all throughout Vermont and some out of state. We met twice as a group, Adele, Brent, myself, Kevin's done some work on it, and then Jordan with the highway department, as well as Madison, who's our consultant. And we reviewed all of the RFPs, and then we actually had like a second interview essentially with a few of them, with 3 of them. And after the second interview, we decided to go with Weeman and Lamphere. Looking at their portfolio, they've done extensive municipal work throughout Vermont. They've done some work locally in Wild County, the Cambridge Fire Station. I was able to speak with a fire chief down there, and they spoke very highly of Weeman and Lamphere. David, who is the president, has been very responsive with us and is really excited to get on board with this project. We did, like Brent said, we mentioned seeing if we can put the highway village garage on the same site, and they're willing to do that with no extra cost. So all in all, we think Weeman and Lamphere is our best choice out of the 9 that submitted proposals. That's what we'd like to move forward with.
So this would be for the evaluation of the 4 sites. And it would also be for conceptual design, not a final architectural design.
Correct, just conceptual. And part of the RFP is, besides evaluating the 4 sites, they need to meet with each department head, with me, with Chief Guerrero, Chief Bover, and try to go through our departments that we have and look at our vehicles, look at the fire trucks, the ambulances, see what spaces we need. And it's supposed to be for like a 50-year build. So this building needs to last us for a minimum 50 years. And we'd all be underneath one roof. We'd have some shared spaces, like a large conference room, training room, kitchen. The PD will have some secure places, and EMS will have also some places where the police department can't go, and vice versa. But we'll be able to share a lot of space.
So the conceptual design, would it be correct in saying that they might design for police and fire, and then design for police, fire, and EMS?
Just police, fire, and EMS.
Just that. So
Yep.
that would just be that one design. Yeah, looking through the packet, I mean, it's quite impressive all that they have done around here in Vermont. They're certainly, they seem like they've got a lot of experience doing what we want them to do, what we'd be asking them to do.
Feel really confident that they'll treat us right and give us the best product that we have.
Other questions, comments from the board?
Yeah.
Go ahead, George. Or Richard.
So Jason,
are they gonna look at all sorts of combinations of buildings? So could they be exploring anywhere from 3 separate buildings on one site to a multi-story complex of three services in one building?
It'd be one building for all three, sir.
That's what they're focused on. Okay, thank you.
No, that's what I was wondering too.
Rose?
I don't have any questions.
Leah?
Thank you for the question about EMS. That was one of my questions, so I'm happy to hear that we're considering putting all 3 of the public safety in one building. I had a question regarding sustainability. I noticed that this particular company mentioned their work with LEEDs certification, but I wondered, I don't know if we're going to go for LEED certification, but I wondered if there was some thought given to sustainability, for example, solar power in the plan.
Yeah, we haven't really got that far yet, but that's something that we'll be discussing. And we're also going to be looking at some other facilities throughout Vermont that they have worked on in the past. So I imagine that will be a topic of discussion in upcoming weeks.
Thank you.
Adele Toplin, Economic and Community Development Director. One of the things that made this group stand out is that they're very resourceful and creative with the spaces. And so some of the examples that they provided actually were out of, the norm of plans. So if we want sustainability to be one of those, they have a lot of knowledge and information.
Seemed like there was a lot in the packet, a lot that they've already done in that area. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
As part of the proposal, would they be evaluating the current police station, the current fire station, the current EMS facility for what the value might be?
We've already done assessments of best possible use of those properties and have those for the select board for a different meeting. So really what they're assessing is what are the needs of a modern police station? What are the needs of a fire department? Our bays are too small. We can't expand them. It's costing the taxpayers money. What are best practices in today's age around security of facilities? And it's not going to be a finalized architectural rendering because another part of this is assessing how much acreage do we need and where would we ideally place it. So they'll be looking at 4 properties and evaluating the properties to inform us of what they think the best location is.
Well, for one, we've been talking about, new public safety building for probably as long as I've been on the board. So it's, it seems time to start moving this towards, moving it forward. We don't really know where it's going to end up because we don't know what this proposal is going to look like in the end. But, I for one would support moving this forward. Yeah.
Can I ask one more question?
Yeah, go ahead.
And I'm not sure if it's Adele or Chief or Brent. I'm not noticing exactly where it is. There's certainly the implication that if we had a project that was proposed that the board believed was within the projected cost and that we went to bond and the town said yes. Are we committed to Weeman Landfair for the construction phase, or is it likely that we would go to Weeman Landfair, but we would go back out to bid for a construction phase with the design plans that Weeman Landfair did?
We would go back out to bid for the second phase.
Okay.
This part of the project, they have to have their work done by the beginning of June. So that will essentially end that RFP at that point.
Okay.
So this is just really getting the whole project rolling, like a formal, let's start, let's go, let's look at what this is going to take to come to a project at the end, right? Then this is what this money in this study is for.
Yeah, and it's to inform the community. It's also to qualify us for USDA grants as well as loan funds, Vermont Muni Bond Bank, EDA funds. So by going through this process, when we move forward to look for low interest solutions, whether it be through Vermont Muni Bond Bank, EDA, or even USDA grants, we'll be able to present this to these organizations, and that'll be part of the process for checking off our eligibility. But that's just the first phase.
I would also say that in the experience that I had with school building construction, William and Lamphey had a very high name, and the 45,350 for them is a very reasonable number. Especially given the inflation factor from the last time I went through a process like this. So I think we're getting a good deal with a very good company.
Seems that way. Yeah, you said you had a number of bids. This wasn't the highest, it certainly
Right,
wasn't
yeah.
the lowest.
Yeah, we had 9 bids come back.
Yeah. This seemed to be right in the middle. Pretty-
It was around 27,000 and the most expensive was 120,000.
Given the number of facilities that have been built that are very similar to what we're looking at, that they've been involved in, this makes a lot of sense. Yeah. I would entertain a motion.
I move to approve the selection of Weeman Lampier Architects to provide architectural and engineering services for the Morristown Emergency Response Station's site evaluation in the amount of $45,350 and to authorize Town Manager Brent Raymond to sign the contract and negotiate the inclusion of the EMS building in the scope of the contract.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I second.
Motion by Richard, second by Rose. Discussion. Yeah, go ahead, Leah.
I just have one more question, clarification. I believe in the proposal, there was some reference to community hearings or community conversations that this company would also help the town lead. Could the chief speak to that briefly?
Yeah, I think there was at least 2 of those in there.
Yeah,
The proposal is that they need to come speak to the select board, and then like if we have an informational meeting for the town, they'll be part of that as well.
Great.
thank you.
Thank you. Any other discussion from the board? Any discussion from the public?
Alex here. I live here in Morristown. Just wanted to say I seem to recall that every time the town buys a fire truck, there has to be a little bit of customization to deal with the current bay. I always forget actually the difference between a fire truck and a fire engine, so perhaps I should say fire vehicle, but hopefully this will let us leave that in the past.
Thanks, Alex. Yeah, thanks for reminding us. Yes, we're talking on the order of hundreds of thousands of dollars. Yeah. Any other discussion? Okay, thank you, Chief. Thank you, Adele. All those in favor of the motion as presented, please say aye. Rose,
Aye.
George,
Aye.
Richard,
Aye.
Leah,
Aye.
would be unanimous. Thanks for the reminder. Okay. So, number 2, approve and sign the new road and road name Juniper Meadow. And I saw our superintendent come in, highway superintendent. So this is to approve the road and the name, or just the name. Jordan, if you could speak to that.
Jordan St. Ange, Highway Superintendent. This is to approve the name and the road and the road.
Okay. And there is a letter I've seen tonight that seems to have your signature on it. So
In case I wasn't able to make it as a meeting prior. Yeah, quick rundown. This is for the Muddy Moose property. There's gonna be more parcels up there now. So I believe we'll need a private lane for E911 addresses. We did a search for the property and there was no existing access permit that we found. So we're working through a new permit process where I've issued a permission to proceed. The one change I would like to see is the slope of the driveway where it meets the cul-de-sac. Right now it slopes down towards it. Should be a relatively easy grading. That was a condition that was on the permission to proceed, which will result in the access permit.
okay. And this is a relatively short road just to access those, I forget, 6 or 7 cabins that are there.
That's correct. And it's
6 or 7.
in the Cody Hill, so it's right at the cul-de-sac just over the bridge. So
Yeah.
it's a real low traffic area. There's no sightline issues. There's no other big issues there.
Right. And this is separate from the property that we've been discussing about concerning a possible acquisition.
Yeah.
I would entertain a motion.
Okay, go ahead and do the motion.
Yeah, let's do them. Go ahead.
I move to approve the new private road and road name Juniper Meadow for the property located off of Cody Hill Road.
Okay, I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I second.
Motion by Richard, second by Rose. Go ahead, George.
So Jordan, just for which road it is, because I was up at the end of Cody Hill today. So if you come over that little culvert bridge where the brook is, on the left is Lazy Lane or something to that effect, a private road?
Not Lazy Lane, there is another.
Shady Lane.
Shady Lane.
Shady Lane on the left. Then this would be Juniper in the middle, and then on the right is the road that would take us to Muddy Moose.
No, the road that takes you to Muddy Moose is what's gonna become Juniper.
The one,
So
and that's the one to the right.
That's right.
Okay, thank you. Okay, that's all. There's too many roads up there and not enough signs. But there'll be one more.
Okay. Any other discussion? Any discussion from the public? Any questions? Okay, all those in favor of the motion as presented, please say aye. Rose?
Aye.
George?
Aye.
Richard?
Aye.
Leah?
Aye.
That would be unanimous. Thank you, Jordan. Thank you very much. Number 3, consideration of a coin drop on Brooklyn Street, April 17th. And this is to benefit the Vermont Children's Hospital, I believe. And I believe Heather Cheney is online. Yes, she is. Heather, would you like to speak to this? Heather, if you could unmute yourself. We cannot hear you. We can hear you. We can see you trying to talk. She's muted still. That looks better.
I need it now. Can't hear you though.
Okay. Yeah, go ahead.
Did reach out about doing a coin drop on streets. I think she was still trying to lock down some of the details first. Sign package and getting permission from a local business to use their parking lot.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can, Heather. Yes.
Our company's been doing it for years, and this year they want to do a coin drop in front of 2020 Brooklyn area. I have spoken to Jamie Welcome. She's allowed us to be there. And if you have any questions, that's what I'm here for.
So the chief had just mentioned a site package, safety package,
Yep.
sign package.
So
And
we're
that
getting
would be-
signage, cones, vest, and we're going to wear bright colored clothing. There'll be no children involved in it. It'll be only a handful of adults, probably about no more than 4.
Does that take care of the chief? Does that take care of the sign package? Okay, he acknowledged that. Okay, thank you. Thank you, Heather. Any questions from the board? Okay, I would entertain a motion.
I move to approve the request from Maple Fields to hold a coin drop on Brooklyn Street on April 17th from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. to benefit the Children's Hospital of Vermont, contingent upon the required safety package being in place.
Thank you, Richard. Do I have a second?
I second.
Motion by Richard, second by Rose. Discussion. Heather, it sounds like a great idea. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank
for bringing
you.
that to town. Okay, I will call the motion then for vote. All those in favor of the motion as presented, please say aye. Rose.
Aye.
George.
Aye.
Richard.
Aye.
Leah.
Aye.
That would be unanimous. Thank you once again, Heather. Number 5. Number 5 is discussion of recreation. Number 4 comes after number 3.
He's a science
For
teacher.
those who've got here late, it's been a tough night for the chair. It's a good thing I did take a couple of Advil before. Number 4, consideration of an MOU for EMS transport from the Manor to Copley Hospital. So Chief Boisvert has put an MOU together. He's obviously done a lot of research and a lot of work putting this together, and we've had a chance to read it, but I'll give you a chance to present it.
So what I'm proposing is that we establish a secure relationship with Copley in the manner on getting the non-emergent transfers out of the ER back to Copley. Right now, it's kind of hit or miss who they get, and we don't normally do them unless they're 911s. We take them out of the manor to Copley, but there's nobody really to move these patients out of the emergency room when they're sent back. So the reason for the MOU is to have a better relationship with the manor, so that in the event that they don't have a reason to go by ambulance, there's an understanding that they get the bill versus us billing the insurance for the patient.
And this would be one-way transport from Copley to the manor, not the other way around.
Correct.
Yeah. Okay, great. And as it happens now, we're not always doing those transports, are we?
Don't do that, no.
Yeah. So this would be great. I mean, it just seems obvious that we would be doing it. We're right there.
Correct.
You're,
Yes.
I should say,
Yeah.
you're right
Yeah.
there. And yeah. Okay. Thank you for putting this together. Questions from the board?
It could be either way though, right, Chief? It could be from Manor to Copley or Copley returning to Manor
So when we go to the manor, it's on a 911 basis
only.
only.
And even under this, you would not.
Correct.
Okay.
Even under this, and that's the reason for the outline and the standards to follow, is so that we don't get overutilized. So that, we don't just be expected to pick them up at any given time for whatever reason.
Yeah. The only reason I looked at number 6 in your memo. And it talks about simple, predictable structure for partners, flat 375 for local transport. And there's a double arrow each way. So I thought it was either way, one way, non-emergency. But it's
No,
not.
No.
Okay.
No.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah. In fact, it's just BLS back to the manor, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Basic life support. Okay. Other questions from the board?
No.
Leo?
No questions. I think it's actually a good solution to, it's been a tricky situation in the past.
Right. I agree.
Don,
Yes.
if I just may make a comment. Since the chief's come on board, she's been very focused on multiple process improvements and improvements to operations. And I just want to personally give her credit for speaking with the manor, putting this MOU together, and having it ready to present to the select board. And wanted to express my appreciation to the chief.
Great. Thank you. I think the board shares that appreciation. Thank you very much. Okay, do I have a motion?
I move to approve the memorandum of understanding between the Morristown EMS and the Manor Nursing Home for local non-emergent transfers at a fixed rate of $375 per transfer, effective April 1, 2026.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I second.
Thank you. So I have a motion by Richard, second by Rose. Any further discussion? Okay. All those in favor of the motion as presented, please say aye. Rose?
Aye.
George?
Aye.
Richard?
Aye.
Leah?
Aye.
That would be unanimous. Now we will move to number 5. So number 5 is a discussion of the formation of a recreation committee. So this is a conversation that we've been having for quite some time. I went back and looked through some of my notes, and it was last November that Maggie Cleary came in and gave a very detailed, a very thorough presentation on recreation in town. And the actually, it was probably more generic than that. It was really about recreation and the value of having recreation in towns, not just our town. I think I know for me, it was great to listen to that. It was a great reminder of just how important recreation is. And at that time, we talked about the creation of a recreation committee. We talked about it again in December as part of the budget process. In the end, it did not make it into the budget, but it is something that I think members of this board are committed to seeing move forward in one way or another. I'm not sure tonight that we are ready to dive dive deep into this, into the details, but I think this is just a reminder for ourselves and for the public that this is a conversation that we need to have, and we do need to take a deep dive into this in the near future. We need to do it sooner than later. I, for one, think it's important that we do establish a recreation committee. I think it's very important that we establish a recreation director. I'm not sure it needs to be under the guise of the town. And I'm not sure it needs to be under the town's umbrella as a town employee. But I think we do need to move forward. There's a number of people in this town that have spoken out about this and spoken out quite adamantly about this, and I would say quite professionally about it as well. And I have great respect for what they've had to say. So I say that, again, as I said, tonight is to begin that discussion and begin to move that discussion forward and get the public to start thinking about this a little bit. I think if it does move forward in the direction that I think it might move forward in, we will need people, we will need volunteers from the community to help establish this committee and identify what those recreational needs are and what those and what all such a committee might be involved in. So I would leave it at that for now. Richard?
Yeah, I think it's important that we do move forward with establishing a recreation committee to really determine what the needs of the community are as a whole. And I know that we've struggled with what does recreation look like, but I really think we need to, get some volunteers together to establish some sort of a formal recreation committee with some sort of guidance, or to provide the town with some sort of guidance on what we want to look at, what we want to see happen with all these moving parts that we have right now. There's a lot of stuff, I think, going on in our town that we are trying to figure out how to navigate and make everything work together. So input from community members would be fantastic.
Great, thank you. George?
Yep, sure, thanks. I agree with what Richard said entirely. The thing I would add for further possible discussion is, depending on whether it is the select board, the town that is organizing the rec committee, or whether it's a grassroots organization. If it's a grassroots organization, then I think that is up to them to take the following step. If it's a town driven, I would like to see us develop a charge to the committee. What are we trying to ask them to do? How long do they have to do it? What resources are there? Who do they report back to? Do they have any funding for it? It's not trying to structure the conversation, but it's trying to put boundaries around the conversation, only so that it doesn't, as Richard said, we're all over the place with what even defining recreation is. And without some guidance from the town, only if the town is creating the committee. If the town is not creating the committee, then I don't think we have any more of a role in it than citizen of the town and willing to participate. But if the town is accepting the responsibility of creating the committee, then I would advocate for a charge. Putting the charge together is not the easiest thing in the world either, but at least it begins the conversation and then it frames it for whatever volunteers and board. I mean, obviously, if we want to frame it in something that we're looking forward to seeing, and that helps guide the committee members. So that would be my only comment. Thank you.
Leo?
I agree with George. I have similar comments and questions to George. I do think the conversation about recreation needs to happen. I do think it needs to be a community-wide conversation. And my question, similar to George, is what is the charge? What are the goals and the mission of the said committee? Do we want them to ID the needs and wants of the community? I know that the town has done some research regarding the structure of recreation committees and departments in other towns, but do we need more research in that? And then just an active record of what the current activities and facilities that we do have. So those are some of the questions that come to mind when we talk about a recreation committee. But similar to George, it's what is their charge? If it is the town that's going to do it, even for a committee, who are they reporting to? What tools do they have for them to use to do said work? Those are the questions I have when we talk about this.
Thank you, Leah. Rose?
I know just participating in the civic project that's happening out of the library, this is a discussion that comes up often in that group. And again, agreeing with Leah and George that how we sort of put together that committee and that process, I think takes some thought too, that there already have been some conversations and some notes made, and maybe we start with looking with that, and Leah mentioned some prior research, and then having a broader discussion about whether it's the town that sort of charges the committee or the committee that comes together and then forms some joint committee that might include select board folks and community members as well.
Thank you.
I think we have a bunch of people in the community currently that are interested in doing something, but I feel like we need them to come together and say, this is what we want to do, or what we're thinking about. So that's kind of where I was saying is, like, we have all these things and I understand, but we have to have something that starts the conversation. And I don't really think that we're at a spot right now in this room to start that conversation. Because I think there's been a lot of people in this town, Maggie especially, that have done a lot of work and put a lot of effort into trying to come up with something. So I think if there's any kind of, we can give them a little push to get something going. I think that's kind of what we need to do. I think that's part of our responsibility, to give an unofficial, let's get something going kind of thing.
Yeah, come on up. I'd open this up to the public.
Creek.
Morristown?
Morristown, yes, indeed. Are we talking about recreation for kids, or is this recreation in general?
I think this speaks to what I think all of us are saying right now, is that we need to kind of figure out exactly what that is, but what that mission is, what that charge is. For me, it's more than just kids. It's more than just the summer program. There's so many different there's so many different aspects to recreation in this town.
So there was numerous occasions when I've been at meetings, there's been a discussion of this being an economic driver for the town. In other words, trying to create an income base based on recreation, and the town and its businesses would be the direct beneficiary of that. So I don't see how the town cannot be involved in it. Honestly, we've got tremendous resources here that aren't even close to being explored. The rail trail is just the tip of the iceberg. There's way more than that. I feel it, my own personal opinion is that it has to be a joint effort between the citizens and the town. You can't say, I don't believe this will be effective as an economic driver if only the citizens are put in charge. They have no power. They have no way to act on the resources that the town has or owns. So I would hope that the town would step up along with a number of people here and in other meetings that are more than willing to jump on board and work hard to make this happen, not only for kids, but for the general health of the community and the financial help that the community could garner from this. So I hope that that's, where we might be headed. Thanks.
Thank you, Bob. Anybody else?
Kent Hedberg, Morristown. I have also been part of those discussions that we've been having at the library, and we are looking at an overall recreation, not just children. Maybe start with children and then work our way into it, however, still a process, right? But I want to echo what Bob said too. There's no way we can do this without the town being involved. There's no way this is just going to be citizens running it and be, a private entity. It's going to need town involvement and town money at some point. That's just the reality of the situation. But it is something I think that we could benefit from, and we really need to explore how we're going to do it. So, thank you.
Great, thank you. Anybody else? Yeah, go ahead.
Sarah Haskins, Morristown. I too joined the group at the library and the recreation. And the big conversation was trying to figure out who their citizens were interested, but we need to first step was figuring out, is it going to be a town committee or are we going to be under MAC? That was really the basis of the conversation. I served both as the town liaison on the the last rec committee. I was the one that did all the minutes and all of that. I have a lot of the past history from the town, surveys that were done and information, but we need a direction and figure out where to go from here.
Anybody else? Yep. Well, go ahead, Carol.
I'll just Carol Lauber, Morrisville, and the MAC board chair. I've said this before, MAC's willing to, talk with the board about it, whatever recreation. And our main focus as far as that right now in town is the Lamoille Valley Rail Trail kiosk. It's one of our strategic to just really make sure that that's clean, looks good, it's developed. But that doesn't mean that there can't be a committee under us if that's a structure that the town, the select board wants to see. There was this week, and I know several of us were on that with VOREC, which is Vermont Outdoor Recreation Economic Coalition. They've created an amazing toolkit for towns to assess their whole system. Brent was on it, Judy, Adele, Charles, my husband, I, a couple other people. We were already kind of talking about that framework, but yet now it's amazing program. We can just start tapping data in there and get that. So I think it's just a matter of tightening it down and figuring out who are the people that have the time and want to do that. We talked some today about that, and I think we're getting close to, having a meeting with some people that, have the amount of time to put in to really get all this pulled together. And then from there, it's like, who are all the groups, and start talking to where people are doing, and, they can pull in on meetings and develop it. So it's kind of that, as far as I know right now. That's helpful.
Great. Thank you, Carol. Yeah.
Paul School in Morristown. Like George says, I think a lot of the catalyst is a grassroots effort could start this. And, people that have the time and the dedication, commitment to the community could get the ball rolling under the auspices of the select board and others. But, working with Adele, we can get a small task force team together to kind of start conceptualizing what an overall master plan looks for the town. And then there are all these other special groups, the trail committees and all those. Those are kind of ancillary to that. But the overall thing is, what do we got here? What do we need? What's the gap analysis of those type of things? So I think we're in the embryo stages of that, but we can keep going and we can build on it from here on out.
Thank you, Charles. Anybody else?
Del Taplin, Economic and Community Development Director, as was already mentioned, that I have been speaking to different people in the community, looking at what ways to start establishing this plan, then to branch out from there, who to bring in, who wants to be involved. And then also just doing a little bit of research on other municipalities and what type of setup they're working under and structures that how they operate, whether it's reporting to select board as a committee or under a recreation department that is staffed by town employees.
Great.
I think that's gonna move up. Walking slow.
Dan McLaughlin, Morristown. In particular, thank you, Adele. I'm glad you said what you said. It re-triggered something I was thinking about. It may be somewhat premature, which I thought I might be, but I look at the structures that we have already established, and I think the idea, and it may come further down the road from the committee, but we should look at the idea of what they call a commission. I don't know the full structure or the state laws around a commission, but one of the reasons that, let's say, our Conservation Commission was created because it would involve the management of town properties and the expenditure of town monies to manage them. Also, the people that were on the committee would be appointed by the selectmen who were voted on. So it wouldn't be, well, who do these people think they are and who is this organization and why are they here? It would be an organization of the town. Again, maybe further down the road, but and I hope to finally go get a copy of the RSAs and figure out what involves the commission. But you guys appoint the commissioners after they suggest people to be on the commission that are interested. So there's a vetting by the commission and then a vetting by the selectmen. And that way, at a meeting like this, at any selectmen's meeting, the general public can't call out the individuals or why they're there or why they're not there, because they've been vetted by both the commission and the board. And I think that would help a lot of the taxpayers when they try to do stuff in the future, especially with public lands. Also, I think it's recognized around grant funding and things like that a lot more as being a part of the town. Again, that's just a suggestion.
Yeah. Thank you, Dan. Anybody else? Anybody online? Okay, I think the board has heard quite clearly once again the importance of this, and yes, I too do feel the town needs to be involved. I don't see ourselves as being mutually exclusive or separate from this in any way, but and I agree that we need a mission. Well, a mission needs to be developed. A charge needs to be developed. A reason to be needs to be developed, and we need to help those individuals that are going to hopefully occupy seats on this commission to be able to move forward in a productive way. So, any other comments at this point before I move on? Again, we're not taking action on this tonight, but this is a discussion that we've begun again, and we will have plenty more soon enough. Okay, I'm going to move on to number 6, discussion of a formation of a trails committee. So this is a very similar conversation. I don't think there's any doubt that the idea of a trails committee got kicked into gear about just about exactly 4 weeks ago on February 17th, when we had Stowe Land Trust come and talk to us about Muddy Moose and their suggestions as to what they would like to see happen with Muddy Moose if the town was to acquire that land. But this is about more than Muddy Moose. I've talked to the chair of the Conservation Commission a couple of times now since our last select board meeting. We have there's a map in our packet, but I got a chance to see that map a couple of weeks ago, and we've got at least 20 parcels of land in Morrisville that are conserved. I'm sure the number is much larger than 20. And that doesn't include Muddy Moose. I know at that community civic engagement meeting a week ago Saturday, this was discussed. I wasn't there. I think there was several people there, and were outspoken in a very positive way about the establishment of a trails committee. This, for me anyways, it seems so obvious that people do in fact come to Morristown to take advantage of the trails that we have. I live up in the Morristown Corners area, Mud City area, and it's just in the summertime, there's way more bike traffic than there is car traffic. And that speaks to something right there. And they're not all locals by any means. There's a lot of traffic coming from Stowe, which is of course very interesting, or should be very interesting to all of us. So this is again, and when I talk to people around town about the establishment of Trails Committee, I get a lot of positive reaction. And so I think this is, again, recreation and trails are similar. They're not mutually exclusive by any means, and they are something that we need to take a good hard look at. We've talked about we've talked about the rail trail tonight. We have a Catamount Trail that goes through town. We have a vast trail that goes through town. Those are very well established, very well organized, very well funded. But we have all these other trails in town that are being utilized a lot year round, 12 months of the year. And those need some establishment as well. So I think in my mind, that's what this Trails Committee would be looking at, maybe looking at ways to dovetail with Catamount Trail and the Vast Trail and the rail trail, but primarily to look at these packages of conserved land around town that are being utilized and perhaps can be utilized in a more efficient way so that we can take advantage of economic development in town. So I'd open it up for a conversation by the board. Richard.
I think that this is something, it's important, but it's kind of along the lines of a recreation committee. And I haven't really spoken with anybody about what this looks like. I think your idea of looking at all the land that we have and trying to come up with something is fantastic. But again, I think we're going to have to see what the temperature of the community is and see if we can get people that are willing to come together to do that. I don't really have a concept of what this looks like. And George's idea of a charge of a committee, I think is something that we don't know what we want to do. We don't know what it looks like. And I know that there's a lot of people, I think there's some people online that I know are probably interested in what does this trails look like? Does it look like hiking? Does it look like mountain biking? Is it exclusive to snowshoeing? Is it like all these different things together are things that we need to figure out how to work into something to draw people to town and be together. But I don't know what the catalyst is going to be to get a group of people together that could work with all those different disciplines, I guess, and really not disciplines, but passions. So I guess I don't know. That's my honest answers. I don't really know what this looks like for us.
George?
Yeah, I think it's the same thing. It's a chicken and the egg a little bit. We're not, as Richard says, we're not sure which way we want to go, but if we just go off to all corners of the wind, we're probably not going to get to meet. So I'm not sure, but that I've got a concept yet of all of how it should be approached. Obviously, there's interested people, whether they're interested enough to work towards a rails plan, or to maintain trails is a whole different question. But it certainly needs to be, discussed further, but there's gonna be some direction to a discussion, even if it's to weed out some ideas that we think are good ideas, but as we start to talk about it, people go, you know, this feels like we're going in the wrong direction. Somehow we've got to figure a way to stop just saying, well, there's a whole lot of stuff that we've got to talk about, and start to actually talk about something, but I don't know who and how that decision gets made.
So that's kind of what I think too. Is there a way we could do a survey similar to what we did with Muddy Moose to gauge community interest in something like that? I don't want to put anything extra on you, which is why I'm a little hesitant to talk, but I think that might be a good way to gauge public sentiment about what they want to see and what we want to do, and frankly, what people are willing to do.
Might not be a bad idea. We're going to talk about the Muddy Moose survey results in just a second, and there's a lot of information in there.
It is.
Right.
And
I don't know what the parallels are with this item and the results of those surveys. Are they the same? I think there's some similarities, but are they the same?
Hillary did a great amount of work about checking out how other communities and towns are looking at some of these similar questions. And I don't know, we got that report, but also if it might be possible to reach out to some of those towns and just talk about what their process was, how they arrived at the structures or ways that they are actually looking at their trail systems and the things that they've done based on the report that Hillary did.
yeah, and that report that Hillary shared with us had a number of towns there, that some of which seemed to be quite organized and had some pretty restructured aspects to themselves. Yes,
So-
Leah, go ahead.
So one of the questions that comes to mind as we have this conversation is, it's sounding like a volunteer committee. Is it assumed that it's going to be under the Morristown Conservation Commission? Because I think they might loosely have a trails committee, loosely. I also know some of the trails in town, depending on what the trail main activity is, I think some of the trails have their own nucleus of volunteers working with that trail specifically. And so is it a group that has maybe a rep from each of those trail volunteer groups, so that all of the trails that we have in town are represented on that committee? And again, what's the goal of that committee overall? So those are some of the questions that come to my mind when we talk about a trails committee. Is, do we have a nucleus of one already started, but then what do we want it to become or for it to be? And how do those volunteers feel about that? Would be a good place to start with a question. I agree that we've had, I think the Muddy Moose gives us some information, but it's not all encompassing of what we want from our trails in town.
Yeah, I think there's nothing assumed at this point. Certainly MCC, the Morristown Conservation Commission, has probably spent more time talking about trails than anybody in town right now. And you're absolutely right, Leah. I think I think of a few groups that there's a nucleus of volunteers that are very interested in their specific trail, and they're working quite vehemently to make sure that their trails are managed and equipped the way that they want them for their particular activity. Yeah. This is a very similar conversation to recreation. I mean, in a very generic sense, we're talking about the same thing. We're talking about the need for a charge, a mission, direction, before this gets going. So this is just a very generic conversation right now, and it needs direction. It needs to be focused on some particular entity or entities. Yeah, go ahead. And Maggie, I'll give you a shot in a second.
I'd like Adele to have an opportunity to speak to this and the resources and the priority that the state places on this. This dovetails with recreation, but it's very distinct, and it dovetails with economic development in a very distinct fashion. I've shared with the select board that a neighbor, Waterbury, brings in over $1 million per year to their local economy through their trails. We have resources that have been shared about how other towns are doing it, and we have the state putting their power behind this. Vermont, competes with other states, and we're a small state with little resources, so we don't compete well with New York State, New Hampshire on many different economic development initiatives. But the state does, working for Agency of Commerce and Community Development years ago, the state really does try to be competitive, and one of the things that they're most successful with is outdoor recreation. So Adele, if you could just share some information on the select board to help them perhaps frame this.
Adele Saplin, Economic and Community Development Director. As a couple things have been noted today, the webinar that was the other day about the new core toolkit that's specifically for communities to determine and assess what they have and what the economic impacts were. That's a huge new tool, and it would fall directly into this. Like, where are our trails? What do we have? How many people does that bring in a day? It whittles it down to how much they're spending while they're here. We are waiting to hear on the recreational trails, the RTP grant, should know by the end of this month. That's a trail assessment grant that would work with a contractor and then also the MCC. They would be trained in how to make the assessments of the trails. What is the trail situation? What is it being used for now? What can it be used for? What is its connectivity to other trails? All providing future maps that would go out to the, I think you had an example of one in your packet, but there would be available front-facing maps to people visiting the area, and being able to direct them. They're here to bike, they're here to hike, what are they here to do? What difficulty do they want? All of that is like key pieces. It does all tie back into recreation. So what the structure is for this committee, also all over the place. Like, I did some research on that. The example that you had for the map in your pro was Middlebury. And Middlebury has a full recreation department that is staff, full-time staff, has a recreation committee, volunteer committee. It has a conservation committee, and it has community partners that actually do their trail programs. So those trails are all connected to town lands and conserved lands, and they all integrate together. But that's how, like, everyone has to figure out what's going to work for them. But essentially, I think I covered everything you wanted, Brent, but I might miss something. So essentially, it is a huge element, and we can, once we get into this tool, we'll be able to see exactly how important it is to the economy.
As Adele said, the last time this was on a select board agenda, it's low-hanging fruit. And when she says low-hanging fruit, she's not talking recreation, she's talking economic fruit. And if we can take advantage of creating growth in the community around recreation, but it being an economic driver, I think that is something that we should look to achieve as a community.
One other thing too, the importance of the recreation committee and the trail committee is that they're going to help determine what prioritizes, where are we putting the resources to make improvements as to which trail. And some of that can come out of this tool too. It can kind of determine where people are using which trails the most frequently, and then bringing those and adding in things like if we make some trail and ADA compliant. All of those elements are going to bring in a different group of people.
Thank you, Adele. Thank you, Brent. Maggie, online? You're muted right now, Maggie.
Sorry.
Or Justin.
Oh, it's me. Hey. Sorry, I'm trying to turn my video on so I'm not just a black box, but oh yeah, there we go. Sorry. Hey, Maggie Cleary, Morristown resident. Yeah, just, oh, I'm all froze up. Sorry. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can.
Sorry. Yeah, just to speak to the conversations that have been happening, particularly last Saturday for community conversation. There was a group talking trails led by Jerry Throne from Conservation Commission. And I believe that they'll be talking about a trails committee at the Conservation Commission meeting this week. Kind of that same sort of conversation, like, does this live as an arm of the Conservation Commission or is it a separate entity? So I know that that is definitely something that's really on their radar. And kind of like same thing, yeah, with rec, we're right on this cusp here of trying to figure out how we want to do this as a town, if it exists as its own commission or if it lives like formally as a town commission. So I think it's just kind of like, let's stay tuned and see where the conversations go. I will say one of the really encouraging things that I have seen in having these rec and trail conversations in the last month or two is how it's attracting younger people and different people to want to get involved, which is just wonderful to see as far as like just diversifying the amount of people who are volunteering in town. And also just like huge shout out to all of the retired people who are giving so many hours of their weeks to volunteering for town. I mean, they're really moving some of this stuff forward. So I think we're going to see a lot in the next couple of months, hopefully.
Thank you, Maggie. Anybody else? Come on up. Is that Hillary? And then Bob?
I'm Hillary Warner, Morrisville. I just wanted to share the conversation that we had in the civic engagement conversation, the trails breakout for that. It was very similar to the Buddy Moose survey results. I'm just going to share 6 bullets from the 7 people who were in the group. So in general, people are looking for opportunities to get outside, to recreate in peace and quiet, and contemplation was one of the words that a participant used. And some people enjoy being able to travel longer distances on skis or by bike, and they really like the idea of having a larger connected network of trails. We discussed the importance of all trail resources being available on a map, and also the presence of signage and wayfinding within trail systems to increase accessibility. We're noticing that a lot of other towns are reporting revenue from trails related businesses, and we're wondering how we can get in on that too. And the general consensus was to start a committee and get going on a wish list. So I want to close with an example of revenue and economic impact. Last fall, my brother had broken his neck mountain biking, so we were looking for easy outdoor activities while he was recuperating. So I was able to go on the Cabot website, and they had a nice listing of trails, and it was really clear how difficult or how easy they were. We were looking for something easy so we wouldn't trip. So we went to Cabot, we had lunch at Harry's Hardware, we went to the general store, we bought some honey, we went to Burt's Bees, we picked apples and got cider and donuts, and then we went on our walk. So it was a great outing that combined the 2 activities. Thank you.
Thank you, Hillary. Come on up. And thank you, MCC, for taking the initiative on to get this going.
Retreat. Bill, I don't really see how those 2 organizations or committees would not be tied together. They're so intertwined in what they're trying to provide. It would seem to me that either one or the other should be under the umbrella of the other. I think there would be a lot more accomplished if all those people were in a group together covering the overall recreation, which includes trails and other things, in one conversation rather than, well, what did you do? Well, what did you do? And, I think there would be a great deal more accomplished. A couple of things that I spend a lot of time outdoors, a lot of time cycling, a lot of time hiking, cross-country skiing, so on and so forth. A couple of things that I think are very important and that is that the town keeps through class 4 roads in town ownership. I do not believe that it is in the towns or the community in its best interest to give those roads up. And I know there's been some discussion about that. So I would firmly hope that that does not happen. The second thing that I think we have never taken advantage of, to my complete not understanding it, is the cross-country trail system that we have at People's Academy. It's unbelievable. There is an enormous amount of parking there. They have a groomer, and if you go on those trails, they go all the way up to the top of Washington Highway, and with some work, you know, talking to landowners in that area, that could be an enormous resource for this community. There are literally, there's got to be probably under school supervision, probably 10K of trails there. And there's probably another 10 to 15K above that. And those, if you drive up Route 12, directly to the left-hand side of Washington Highway, you look out through that enormous field, that runs all the way on the top of the school trails. And there's a vast trail that runs through there. So with some community wherewithal, talking to some landowners, I think that there could be an opportunity there.
Agreed, Bobby. And that's one of the 20 properties that I referred to earlier that was identified in the map that's in our packet. So
Yeah.
absolutely. It's just another example of
Just one example of so many resources that we have that we're not taking advantage of, not only for recreation, but for the financial windfall that the town could see from this.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. And this is just another example of another trail network that's being independently managed and, you know, taken care of, separate from all the rest in town. Yeah, come on up.
I need to some superstructure.
Thank you, Bob.
Hi, Brooke Scatcherd, Morristown. I almost always agree entirely with Bob, and I agree with two of his points, but I disagree with one. I think it's actually important to have the committees at least meeting separately, the Trail Committee and Recreation and Conservation, so that you can get into the weeds of the details like Bob was just talking about in terms of trail-specific discussions, where they are, who is using them currently, who they benefit, etc. I know a lot about trails. I'm a professional trail designer and builder, and I know very little about general recreation needs of residents beyond that. And I think getting people to focus on their lanes would get us the most benefit. I also want to reiterate the class 4 roads, how they're important assets and should not be discontinued without serious thought. Yeah, thanks.
Thank you very much.
Don?
Thank you for coming. Yes, Brent.
When Bob made a statement about discussion of discontinuance of class 4 through roads, I was concerned about that because misinformation bubbles up quickly. I am not aware as town manager of any class 4 roads that are through roads being considered for discontinuation. There is one road, it's not a through road, and the property owner came to us. So I just wanted to clarify that before I get a lot of emails.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing. Yes. Come on up, Dan, and then, yep.
Dan McLaughlin, Morristown. One of the things, especially around what Brent just said, having a trail system and somebody watching over it and suggesting future expansion, eliminating or changing, is going to be so much more valuable to the DRB and the Planning Commission as land gets developed. If there is already established policies and procedures around trails, that when a new area is going to get developed, the DRB can suggest that if a piece of property that already has trails on it, that they bring it in first off, to a lot of their regulations or into the zoning so that it can be addressed by the developer as part, up front before it gets developed. So it might, rather than it just getting chopped here and here, there should be some kind of mechanism. I think we can do that, especially if we have the info developed by these groups.
Great. Thank you, Dan.
Ken Hedberg, Morristown. Yeah, I think this is an important thing economically for us, and there are definitely trails that are around, and just being able to access those and know where they are, it would be fantastic. I know there's some up in Beaver Meadow that are some kind of, there's a map for some of those, and there's a little bit everywhere, but something also to consider too is access to the river. It's a great, as a fisherman, this is a fantastic ecosystem for, you can catch almost anything in the Lamoille. The state stocks it with trout. Just establishing that. And also we talked about trail maintenance, maybe partnering with the Vermont Youth Conservation Corps to do trail. They have an arm that's specifically for trail maintenance. Sure. So figuring, I don't know if that's free or what. My father was in the California Conservation Corps, and he talked about after high school, just going out and maintaining trails, doing all sorts of work that I think would be beneficial for us too. So.
Ken, that's a great comment. Yeah, VYCC is very involved in trail maintenance. Yeah, thank you. So I think we all agree that there's a great opportunity here, and one that we need to. I think I'm hearing get more involved in. These comments are very positive and very positive throughout. I think the next time this comes to the select board, and I think it does need to come to the select board. I think next time, we're having this conversation, and I think this is good, but I think we need to get a little bit more specific. We need to start considering some kind of a framework around a mission statement. Maybe that means, sealing some of the statements that some other towns have worked on. That's probably not a bad idea. There's no sense in reinventing the wheel here. Maybe a conversation about a committee versus a commission, if that's what we want to do. I kind of agree with one of the comments that maybe we need to keep trails and recreation separate for now, just so that they can have their own conversations about their own issues. But that's not to say they might not come together later on. But right now, we're dealing with them as separate. They could very well come under the same umbrella later on. But I think it is time for us, the next time we talk about this, whether we talk about rec or trails, that we have something more solid to talk about. That we need a mission statement. We need to start to put one together before we go out to the public and ask people to sign up for a committee without knowing what it is they're signing up for. If there's any other comments at this point, before I move on.
I'd like to just say that these comments are, I think, a good place to start. And I think personally, I need to start doing some homework and get out and reach out to some of these people about some of these ideas they have before we come to the next meeting, so that we have something more solid that we can actually work with, rather than a line item on an agenda. This is really, I think it was helpful. It's put some light on some of the things that what the people want to do in our community.
Okay, I'm going to move on. Muddy Moose survey results. Adele. Again, we've alluded to this. There's a lot in our packet here. There's a lot of reading there, a lot of comments.
It's me.
A lot of data. It's you again. You're in the spotlight.
I'll just mention all of the results are on the town website now for anyone who hasn't seen them. Some identifying information has been removed just for privacy's sake. But overall, it's the community interest is really strong in protecting the Muddy Moose property, and then was also wanting a thoughtful, low impact recreation mixed use for that area. So just to remind everyone, the purpose of this survey was to propose a conservation easement for the Muddy Moose property, and then look at priorities, recreational uses, and potential facilities. We had over 200 responses. I think it was 215, which is a great number to have. The overall direction is looking at a balance between conservation and recreation. They also want to protect the wildlife habitat and the natural character of the property. For recreation uses, the interest was high for non-motorized recreation, including hiking, walking, snowshoeing, and Nordic skiing, as well as nature observation. Some respondents also supported mountain biking and trail connections, but others preferred limiting the amount of wheeled use. There were mixed perspectives on two topics, one being hunting. Some supported consistent hunting with Vermont regulations, and some safety concerns were preferred limiting or no hunting. The other area was mountain biking. There was support for additional trail opportunities, and there were also concerns about erosion and wildlife impacts. For the facilities and the development, any comments favored the low impact development use, such as maintaining and improving trails, small trailhead amenities like signage and parking, and there was more caution around anything larger for recreational facilities. For community considerations, some of the comments, these were comments, this wasn't a question, was concerns about traffic and parking on Cody Hill Road and the impacts to neighboring parks. So as I mentioned, you can review the results on our town website. It's under the conservation tab, conserved properties.
Adele, thank you for, doing all the work, getting the survey together and putting all the comments together as well and all the data. There's certainly a lot in there.
Absolutely. Thank you.
I've, reading through it myself, and, we have a map in here on the Morristown Town Forest, which I know isn't Muddy Moose, but I bring that up because I think of how much it's used, and it is used an awful lot. That parking lot up in Beaver Meadow is quite full a lot of the time. And as a result, I just, I have my own concerns about overdeveloping this area. Like, do we need a kiosk? It's been mentioned that maybe that needs to be put in there. Bathrooms, and, I have concerns about putting bathrooms in there. We have trouble with bathrooms here at the Oxbow. We don't need it. We don't have a kiosk, or we have a very small, I guess we have a very small kiosk up in Beaver Meadow, but we don't have bathrooms there. I wonder about snow machine, grooming with a snow machine up there. I just not sure that we need it. If those trails are as steep as some have suggested, and I'm going to try and go out with one of the Morristown Conservation Commission individuals tomorrow and take a look at all these trails. But I worry about that. Certainly the notion of athletic fields, it just doesn't seem like the right place at all for athletic fields. And but it does seem like it is similar to the Morristown Town Forest. It's that seems to be able to take care of itself very well. So I think that might be a good model to copy off of for Muddy Moose. Yeah, you're right. Adele, you're absolutely right. There was lots of comments about whether motorized vehicles be allowed or not, whether or not e-bikes would be allowed, the whole hunting and fishing issue. There was a lot of comments about that.
So specifically about motorized vehicles, I think this more than anything was just questions in general to kind of direct where you might want to take the easement wording. I'm not 100% sure that motorized vehicles are even allowed.
Yeah.
I think wasn't that mentioned in the easement language?
So I've not received any.
No, I know we didn't receive the draft, but somewhere I thought I read that, but I'm not sure. But yeah, it was more broadly based. What uses do you see this being used for?
Right. Yep. Other comments? Richard?
No, I don't really have anything to offer. I appreciate all the data you got.
Wonderful. Brett?
So Stowe Land Trust shared, after they presented to the select board, they shared a timeline and stated in early March the town would receive draft easements. I followed up with them. I've not heard anything back from them. Also invited them to tonight's meeting. So I'll just move forward with sharing the survey and let them know that this is just survey information. and keep following up with them. But again, I'm not sure where that timeline for the easement is, because haven't heard from them since they presented, except for one email where they did share the timeline, and it was very aggressive. But I'll keep you all informed, when I do hear something.
Brent, correct me, it was aggressive for the easements was what I heard, not necessarily aggressive for the town accepting ownership of the land. They seemed very soft.
That's totally separate.
Right.
Yeah, so they said whether the town decides that it wants to assume ownership of the land or not. They were very interested in hearing from the residents of the town about what they would like the use of the property to be, regardless of whether the town assumes ownership. So administration's been moving forward to get information to be able to inform them of what the residents would like to see in an easement without any consideration of ownership and transferring ownership to the town.
And can I ask a dumb question? Can easements be changed? There's a set of easements that people bless and say, okay, good for now. We find out that they're either too liberal or too restrictive. Can we change easements down the road?
No, it's very difficult. I mean, there might be some situations where easements have been changed for a reason, but the reason for easements is to protect property to perpetuity. So the easements are very important, and I can understand why Stowe Land Trust really wants and appreciates feedback from the community. And that's why we put out this survey, and that's why it's on the agenda tonight. It's not about ownership whatsoever. It's just about being able to inform Stowe Land Trust about what the interests of our residents are.
Yep. Thank you for clarification.
Yeah.
Leah.
I think my questions are more towards the ownership question of things versus the conservation easement language. So I'm not sure if this is the appropriate time for that. But my questions have to do regarding the assessment of the trails. We've heard they're steep. How many of them are steep? We've heard the trailheads may need to be moved. How does that look? How would that be done? Stowe Land Trust had, in their proposal, had allocated some funding. And my question is, how vetted has that information been? I think it referenced a parking lot and a kiosk and equipment. And were the figures accurate? Can we use that equipment elsewhere on other trails? And just the management of trails, what does that look like? And future costs of that is what they estimated. Is that an appropriate amount? So my questions were really more about the ownership question, just seeing how vetted the proposal has been. And I really wondered what MCC's thoughts were, and if they had done any of that, if they could share information about those topics.
Thank you, Leah. Rose?
I think everybody's addressed the questions I had.
Where do we stand with Stowe Land Trust right now? Have we pretty well fulfilled what they've asked for us as of this date?
Well, they were going to have draft easement language to us the first week of March, according to their timeline.
Right.
We'll be forwarding the survey out to them tomorrow, and I'll follow up with them again. I think Leah brings up excellent questions, but in my opinion, that's a separate agenda item from what we're discussing tonight around easement. So we can discuss scheduling that. They didn't have an aggressive timeline around potential property transfer, or the town making decisions around property transfer.
But they don't need us to take any action on anything tonight. There's no action that we need to take because of them tonight.
No.
Well, can I?
Yeah, George.
But I guess it's a conversation for everybody, but you, Brent, I think probably more involved with it. So if we were to, as a town, put some fairly restrictive easements on this, Don talked about potentially managing the same way the town forest is, the easements that meet the town forest, where there may be a small kiosk, but there's no buildings, there's no bathrooms. It's, I don't know, primitive is the right word, but basic maybe is a better word than primitive. Is it then the next step that Stowe Land Trust would obviously abide by those easements and begin to oversee Muddy Moose according to those easements? Is that a correct first step? Am I even making the right assumption next?
So Stowe Land Trust is moving forward with a timeline with their legal counsel to put the easements in place.
Yeah.
Whether or not it's totally separate from whether or not we acquire the properties.
Right.
So that's their primary timeline right now. And I think I'm understanding your question, but so it's Stowe Land Trust owns this property. We don't.
Yeah.
They're open to listening to the community.
Yep.
But they ultimately decide what the easement language will be at this point.
It's not you, it's me, Brent. I'm fumbling. There's no doubt about it, because I can't understand it well enough to express it properly. So if we had conservative easements, if that's where we were, we did the town forest thing. Is it your view that Stowe Land Trust will then begin to utilize the recreational facilities of Muddy Moose in accordance with the easements that we approve?
We're not going to be able to approve anything, as far as I can tell from this timeline. Stowe Land Trust will own this property and make decisions around the easement based upon the feedback, but we won't be able to control anything in the easement that's language is submitted.
Okay, I need a tutorial then, because I don't want to keep killing time, but I'm clearly in a different wavelength altogether.
Yeah, the landowner submits easement language. We're not the landowner. So according to their timeline.
Okay, that helps me, Brent. Okay, I thought we were able to establish the easements, but it's the owner. That's where I was sideways. Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
But there's still, that easement language can still be negotiated.
Yeah, they want to have a conversation with us,
right,
about the easement language. If I may, there's discussion about limiting infrastructure there. What I've heard from before I started here as town manager, when I reached out to various people in the community, is lack of facilities. You have Oxbow Park, floodplain, so you can't build any infrastructure there. People want recreational facilities, not just land, but places where people can congregate. We are reliant on third parties for whether we run summer camp or a third party runs the summer camp, for a facility that can house children. We have recreation for all ages that we're looking at resources, what other entities are providing it. But one common theme that I see here, my short time, 22 months, is that downtown Morrisville Village, there's not a lot of opportunity for the town to own land where we can have facilities. So if we can't do it in a cost-effective manner in Morrisville downtown, where will that be? It could be the town forest, we can start those discussions, or it could be Muddy Moose, but that's going to be discussions that take a while. So personally, I would caution against not allowing any infrastructure, even if it's rec related, when quite possibly you could enter into an agreement with a third party who's happy to have some sort of recreation programs up there, but would need facilities because of liability reasons, thunderstorm, and other aspects that the different recreation program organizations look at when they run them. So I just want to bring that up as we consider facilities specifically there. Now, Stowe Land Trust might not be interested in any facilities being located there, and that's, as a landowner, but for the town, I would want us to think broadly about the potential possibilities in the future, because unless property opens up, and that could be the fire station in a few years or the police department, we're very limited in downtown Morrisville with what we can create for a cost-effective facility for people to gather and take advantage of the resources here in the downtown.
Okay, any further discussion?
I just had a quick question. I realized for easement language would be, for example, saying no motorized vehicles. Is that part of an easement language?
It could be. I've seen a lot of easements. I haven't specifically looked for no motorized vehicles, and it might be limited because it could be except to maintain trails, because they're talking about funding a snowmobile. Other people are saying a snowmobile isn't the best vehicle. An ATV would be for the train that's up there. So the easement language could prevent motorized vehicles, but allow for some for certain reasons.
Well, the Vast Trail has obviously groomers to go out in the winter, and then periodically in the summer, a pickup truck runs that and deals with down branches and any other stuff that they need to from the state of Vermont. So, I mean, clearly that the language has to be there, but clearly you've got to have an opportunity to allow maintenance vehicles, or call it what you will, to go on there without allowing motorcycles to run out there just because it's fun.
Okay. Good. Okay, I'm going to move forward. Another good conversation that will continue into the future. Number 8, discuss the reactivation of the Charter Committee. I was looking back on my notes on this as well, and the Charter Committee was an entity that we put together back in 2024. The first meeting was in January of 2024. We had a total of 6 meetings that year, and the end result of the Charter Committee was the charter that the town did vote on. I know that conversation that we had with that committee was one in the end to present something to the town that was quite simple and really kind of hit on the few, and just hit upon the few things that the town really needed to consider at that point. So our charter is quite simple. We didn't want to overly complicate it. We wanted to make sure that we got a charter in place, and that the charter that was in place could be amended in the future, which it can be. I know our town clerk has brought to our attention a good reason for amending our charter, and it was evident tonight. Although it is very quick and very simple, the alcohol and tobacco meetings that we have at the beginning of our meetings is something that could go into a charter and would be taken away from the auspices of the select board, and something that I believe the town clerk and perhaps the chief of police or some other entity could take care of. That's just an example of something that could be done. Again, we had 6 meetings back in 2024. I believe it was later in 2024 that we as a town passed the charter, and it was then in 2025 that the legislature approved the charter that we have. So we're here tonight to discuss whether we should reactivate the Charter Committee. One of the things, having been on that committee, one of the things that I think was well noted by at least myself was when we put that committee together, we had all 5 select board members on that committee, and then we invited some members of the community. And I think it was very safe to say that the community members on that committee felt kind of overwhelmed by the select board. The fact that there was 5 of us there, and that not only were there 5 of us there weren't 5 of them. So we had kind of like in their minds kind of a veto power. And So I would recommend that if we are going to reactivate this committee, that we have a minority of members from the select board on that committee. But I think it is time to consider reactivating the charter committee. I think other issues will come up beyond the one issue that I just mentioned, and that's probably good. That's good for the community. It's good to have those conversations and for us, for that committee to decide what they want to send forward to us, and for us as a select board to decide what would then go towards the voters of Morristown to consider as amendments to the charter. So I would leave it at that and ask if there's other comments or discussion on the part of the board.
No, I don't have anything to add to that, Don.
George? No. Leah?
I don't have anything to add. I did a little bit of research, and it is recommended that a charter committee or the charter of the town gets reviewed every 5 years or so. So to me, it makes sense simply to make note of that renewal or review process.
Yeah. Yeah, it certainly hasn't been 5 years, but I think that's a conversation that did not happen with that committee. Or if it did, it certainly wasn't a significant conversation. But I do think maybe if we do reactivate the committee, that could be something that could be discussed and thought about, so that whatever changes we do make to our charter, we're kind of the understanding that we may not do this again for a number of years. Rose, thoughts?
My question was just that's the charter.
That's it.
Okay.
is really very simple, and I think in
Short and sweet.
large part it was just to establish the charter. Get it going.
And I'll circle back on that. The reason, if I'm wrong, correct me if I'm wrong, but the main reason we started the charter, one of the main reasons we started the charter committee was so that we could introduce a local option tax, and the legislature took that requirement. There's a requirement that we had to have a charter before we could take advantage of the local option tax, and then they took that away. So that's kind of where this conversation fizzled out in 2024. But it is good to, I think it'd be good to revive something, get something started. To the point about the liquor and tobacco would be fantastic to take that off of.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, Richard. The local option tax was one of the major reasons for starting the charter, because at that time we needed the local option tax to be part of the charter. Mm-hmm. But the legislature in 2024 took that requirement away.
I would also add, though, that in the last section 3, it very well clarifies the responsibilities and duties of the town manager.
Yes.
And I think to have those codified in our charter is a key thing, although I agree with you, LOT was the driving start of it. Certainly now, with the town manager, it's very clear as to what expectations are and responsibilities are, and that's a very important point as well.
Right. So I guess the question is, does the board want to direct administration to reactivating the charter committee? And if so, how to do that?
Personally, I think that the more that the administration and the select board can hear from community members about what they feel is important, the better. So I think a charter committee naturally fulfills that. So you don't necessarily have to make a motion tonight. I think that this is a good conversation, and then perhaps administration can come with some recommendations for structure of the committee. You know, you already mentioned, Don, that community members felt overwhelmed with the number of select board members last time. I heard that same concern. So, you know, perhaps administration can discuss recommended structures to propose to the select board, whether it be the next select board meeting or the one after that. And you can all have the opportunity to discuss pros and cons and potentially move forward with that.
Yeah, I'm really just looking for a head nod from the board that this is a good idea at all, and whether we want to move forward with it.
Yes.
Yes.
It's fine.
Yes.
Leah?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, number 9, approve the lien discharge for Ashley Wells. Sarah, are you going to speak to this?
Sarah Haskins, delinquent tax collector. We put a lien on this mobile home because there were delinquent taxes owed, and we knew that there was going to be abandonment proceedings taking place for the mobile home. Our attorney basically said it was not worth the legal fees to pursue it. The court has ruled in favor of the mobile home park and the abandonment, and the court documents say that we don't get to collect the taxes. And so therefore we need to abate the taxes, which I've done according to the court. And we should discharge this lien because there's no longer taxes owed because they've been abated.
And since the select board put the lien in place, the select board need to discharge that lien.
Correct.
Okay. I would entertain a motion.
I move to discharge the tax lien against the property of Ashley Wells located at 13 First Street as recorded in the Morristown Land Records in book 363, page 296.
So I have a motion. Do I have a second?
A second.
Motion by Richard and a second by Rose. Discussion. Okay, seeing none. All those in favor of the motion as presented, please say aye.
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 Rose.
I got sucked in.
Aye.
Rose.
Aye.
George.
Aye.
Richard.
Aye.
Leah.
Aye.
That would be unanimous.
You did that to get me. I know you.
I did that. Yes. I got myself too. Okay, so old business. At the last meeting, the reorganizational meeting, we began a discussion of rules and procedure, and a couple of items came up. In our packet, we have a red line version of the rules and procedure with two changes. And those changes are, I believe there's only the two, Judy. Yep. And their additions. Thank you very much. So one is the newspaper of record, and the red line version would read: the newspaper of record for the town of Morristown shall be the News and Citizen. Public notices, meeting warnings, hearing announcements, bids, solicitations, and other official town communications required by law or deemed appropriate by the select board shall be published in the News and Citizen to ensure proper public notification. When feasible, the town may also share or repost such notices through other authorized outlets, such as the town website or Front Porch Forum, to further promote public awareness. So that is one of the changes, and the other change is under public participation, number 4. And you guys have been abiding by this tonight. The original language says members of the public must be acknowledged by the chair before speaking. Prior to speaking, each person must state their full name. We have added "and town of residence" for the record. Okay. So that's what we have. I would entertain a motion to at least begin discussion.
I move to adopt the amended select board rules of procedure as presented.
Thank you, Richard. I have a motion. Do I have a second?
A second.
So motion by Richard, second by Rose. Discussion. Okay. Hearing none. All those in favor of the motion as presented: Rose.
Aye.
George.
Aye.
Richard.
Aye.
Leah.
Aye.
And that would be unanimous. Thank you very much. Approve the warrants. I would entertain a motion to approve the warrants.
Move to approve the warrants.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I second.
A motion by Richard, second by Rose. Discussion. Okay, all those in favor of approving the warrants, please say aye. Rose?
Aye.
George?
Aye.
Richard?
Aye.
Leah?
Aye.
That would be unanimous as well. Yes.
Yes.
And that would be unanimous as well. Okay, great. Okay, the upcoming schedule, we have a regular select board meeting on April 6th and on April 20th. Those would both be Monday nights at 5:30. We have other business. I believe I'm going to get a motion for executive session.
I move to find that premature general public knowledge regarding possible litigation would clearly place the town at substantial disadvantage.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I second.
So I have a motion by Richard, second by Rose. Discussion? Okay, all those in favor of the motion as presented, please say aye. Rose?
Aye.
George?
Aye.
Richard?
Aye.
Leah?
Aye.
And that would be unanimous.
I move to enter executive session for possible litigation per 1 VSA section 313 Alpha 1 Echo and include Sarah Haskins, Tina Sweet, Brent Raymond, Jason Luno, and Judy Alberry.
I have a motion. Second?
Second.
A motion by Richard, second by Rose. Discussion? All those in favor of the motion as presented, please say aye. Rose?
Aye.
George?
Aye.
Richard?
Aye.
Leah?
Aye.
That would be unanimous as well. Richard?
I move to find that premature general public knowledge regarding labor relation agreements would clearly place the town at substantial disadvantage.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I second.
Motion by Richard, second by Rose. Discussion. All those in favor of the motion presented, please say aye. Rose?
Aye.
George?
Aye.
Richard?
Aye.
Leah?
Aye.
That would be unanimous as well.
I move to enter executive session for labor relations per 1 VSA section 313 Alpha 1 Bravo and include Tina Sweet, Corey Bover, Cindy Wilshire, Brent Raymond, and Judy Alberry.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I second.
I have a motion by Richard, second by Rose. Discussion. All those in favor of the motion as presented, please say aye. Rose?
Aye.
George?
Aye.
Richard?
Aye.
Leah?
Aye.
That would be unanimous. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.